Hello, everyone, and welcome to Affirmative Talk. I am super excited to be talking to you today about Georgia's LLC formation instructions. So, what I'm going to be communicating with you with my presentation is how to create your own LLC. Now, with these instructions, these are specifically formatted for Georgia. I will be doing other presentations if I feel that in other states that are different. So if you're living in the state of Georgia, you definitely don't want to miss this presentation and you want to watch this presentation all the way through. Don't shortchange yourself and just watch the beginning and then cut it off. You want to make sure that you stay all the way to the end of this presentation because it may be something that you miss. And I want to make sure that you get all of it. Also, with my company, you can actually become affiliate on my team. If you would like to do that, you can follow me on IG Affirmative Talk, on YouTube Affirmative Talk. You can send me an email at samuel@creditpowerfix.com, or you can send a text. You could text affiliate to 478-216-7989. If you're also in need of rebuilding your credit score, right? You can actually contact me by email, samuel@creditpowerfix.com, or you can text the word credit to 478-216-7989. So let's go ahead and get into the presentation. Now, it's very important to note that Georgia LLC registrations is cheaper than other states. So let me give you an example. For Georgia, it's just $100 to do the filing. Now, in Massachusetts, and the state of Massachusetts is $500. So Georgia LLC formation is complicated. I must let you know that it is complicated, but regardless of cost, it is going to be a complicated process. So this is why it's so very important for you to watch this video, this presentation from A to Z, so that way you can get a step-by-step tutorial that I'm giving you, and I will show you how to incorporate an LLC in Georgia, and I will emphasize critical concerns that you may have. Now, the first thing you must do, the first step you must do is choose your LLC name. You have to do that. Now, in order to choose the LLC name, you must take the next step to determine what business name you want to choose. Now, it is not feasible to form a limited liability corporation, which is abbreviation for LLC, using an already existing business name. Now, even if having that name that is deemed too close to a well-known company might lead to financial issues in the long run. So avoid any potential issues by doing a name search of Georgia companies, okay? That is very, very critical when you want to choose a name for your LLC. You don't want it to be similar to already a branded company. Now, if your investigation reveals that the desired name is accessible, this is what you must do. You may submit LLC papers. You may apply to reserve that name for 30 days if you're not yet prepared to apply. Now, the renewal charge is $25 and the reserve name may be renewed. So that's very important. Now, number two, the second step is to submit your Georgia LLC forms. Now, at this point in the process, you will either file as a domestic or international entity. Now, let me tell you something. Foreign companies are firms incorporated in a state other than Georgia that desire to operate lawfully in the state of Georgia. So you must submit a separate application and it's going to come with extra costs. So keep in mind with that. Now, for domestic companies or firms or businesses that are based in Georgia, you must submit your articles of organization to the Georgia Secretary of State online or by mail. Now, the online filing price is $100, while the physical filing charge is an extra $10. So keep that in mind. If you do it online, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But if you do it by mail, it's less expensive of only $10. So just keep that in mind. Now, you must select a registered agent. Now, it's very important to note that a registered agent is an individual or entity authorized to receive legal papers on behalf of your LLC. That's important. A registered agent may be a Georgia citizen, a Georgia authorized corporation, or a limited liability company, and the agent must maintain a Georgia street address. Now, you do not need to have a registered agent in Georgia. You may represent yourself if you choose to do so, but it is also feasible to ask a trustworthy coworker, family member, or friend to step in as a registered agent. Now, you do have alternatives. You may employ a registered agent service that does the required tasks for you. So, if you want to be able to employ someone to alleviate extra task for you, that might be something you definitely want to look into. So that is your third step, is to select a registered agent. Now, along with selecting a registered agent for number 3, you must have the key tasks after starting your Georgia LLC. Now, it's very important to note that filing the papers to form an LLC is not the only step required to establish your firm or your business. Several procedures must be completed after filing to preserve good standing and satisfy tax obligations. That word tax, I cannot stress to you enough. You want to make sure that you are going over several procedures that must be completed after filing to preserve good standing with your tax obligations, because you don't want to have trouble with the IRS when you're talking about dealing with your business slash LLC. Now, number 4, create a operating agreement. How many of you know the importance of creating an operating agreement? If you do understand this, I would like for you to say, yes, I understand how to create an operating agreement already. If you don't, then you definitely don't want to skip past this portion, because this is one of the most important parts of an LLC. All of them are important, but I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Now, in Georgia, an operating agreement is not required to form an LLC. Now, despite this, operational agreements are valuable instruments. Developing a business plan at the outset of your LLC will give you a professional, strong basis, a professional foundation for your business. Now, the primary purposes of an operating agreement document are these. Number 1, it will describe the financial and operational choices made by the LLC. Number 2, it will regulate internal operations and outlines assigned roles. Number 3, it describes strategies for satisfying the demands of company owners. And let me tell you why this is so very important. Because if you're trying to get business funding, right? There are some vendors that's out there that want to know the operating agreement of your LLC. They may want to know the financial and operational choices that are made by your LLC. The reason why this is so important for that vendor is because they may look at, before we give you money to that you're asking to scale your business, we want to know how your strategies and how your plan on the financial side and the operational side. And it has to make sense to us to be able to see, okay, this seems like you have a strong foundation. So, by you having an operating agreement, we're going to give you the funding that you need, because you seem like you have a strong professional basis. So this is why it's so very important that you want to have an operating agreement for your LLC. Now, continue. A written agreement will eliminate miscommunications. As I was just saying, if you're talking about, for an example, a business vendor that you're looking for to get funding, it will actually eliminate conflicts and other concerns about rules and functions for Georgia LLCs with several members. Now, a further layer of liability protection may be afforded by the presence of an operating agreement. It further reinforces the separation between your company and personal funds. Let me read that part again, the latter part. It further reinforces the separation between your company and personal funds. And this is what a lot of business vendors, and then you have people where you're trying to buy a house and things of that nature. And if you want to claim your business income as your business, then you need to have things set up far as in separating your personal funds and your business funds. So you definitely don't want to commingle those together. You want to have a strong separation between the two. Now, number 5, get an EIN. Now, the majority of Georgia LLCs are required to get a EIN, which means it's an employer identification number. Now, the EIN is the tax identification number for your LLC. Now, even while LLCs may be taxed on the individual tax returns of its members, an EIN enables the LLC to create its own bank accounts, and it will establish payroll for its workers. Now, it's important to note that if your LLC has numerous members or workers, you need an employer identification number. Now, you may get an EIN through the IRS official website, and you can see our detail on, I will actually post in the actual caption of this video on how to obtain an EIN for an LLC for additional information and instructions for you. Okay, so that's important. Now, number 6, separate personal and business assets. This is very important. If you are operating a single member LLC in the state of Georgia, you may not feel the need for a new bank account. But, however, since the purpose of an LLC is to protect you from legal ramifications against your business that directly affect you and your personal property, separating your personal and business assets helps reinforce this separation in the event of legal proceedings. So the reason why you want to do that to be able to protect you, the business. Now, you may establish a business bank account using your new EIN. Use the same bank to facilitate the movement of funds between your personal and company accounts. Or if you have several members, consider a central bank or a online bank. Okay. Now, number 7, fulfill Georgia LLC tax requirements. This is another important part of the process. The way you file and pay income taxes for your LLC is determined by its tax structure. So if your single member LLC has a sole proprietorship tax structure, you will report income or loss on your individual tax return. If you have a multi-member LLCs that are taxed as partnerships, will operate similarly. If your LLC elects to be taxed as a corporation, your tax filing obligations will change. Now, if your firm sells taxable items, it may also be required to file state sales tax returns. If your company sales are subject to sales tax, you must collect and pay this tax. Now, in the state of Georgia, a sales and use tax number is mandatory. This identification number may be requested online through the Georgia Department of Revenue website. State sale tax is now at 4%. 4% with extra sales taxes averaging between 3% and 4%, depending on the county that you live in. So that's a very important part to bring up. Now, what I'm about to talk about now is important information about LLCs in the state of Georgia. Now, this is just a little quote for you. Now, even if the devil has moved to Georgia, they cannot do business there without a basic grasp of LLC registration, categorization, and taxing law. So always keep that in mind, okay? Now, you may be saying to yourself, how are LLCs classified in Georgia? Unless differently categorized for federal income tax purposes, Georgia treats LLC corporations and international limited liability companies as sole proprietors, also known as disregarded entities or partnerships. So, for Georgia income tax reasons, limited liability companies and overseas limited liability corporations are categorized in the same manner as they are for federal income tax purposes. Okay. So that's important to note. Now, let's talk about foreign entities. Companies based in the state of Georgia must complete conventional Georgia LLC paperwork and pay the associated expenses. However, if you're not a Georgia resident and want to form an LLC in Georgia, you are deemed a foreign company. This implies you must submit different documentation and pay a $235 cost. Georgia does not permit LLC domestication, unlike several other states does. So if you wish to bring an out-of-state LLC to Georgia, the procedure is more involved than filing a few pieces of paperwork. Please understand that. And you may have many alternatives for structuring the transaction. If you have a foreign LLC and want to make Georgia your home state, you need, and I strongly recommend that you get legal counsel when doing so. Now, let's talk about the annual business registration. Georgia requires that LLCs to go through the annual business restoration process. The cost is $50. Okay. Now, if the registration isn't submitted on time, you will pay a $25 late fee. Now, annual registration requires the following: the control number or business name. Number two, the name of the person filing the annual registration. Number three, an email address, a professional business email address, not a Gmail, a email address. Now, a professional email address, the mailing address of the principal office, registered agent's name and address, and acceptable form of payment. So that's important to note, okay? Now let's go to the next slide. Now, this is continuation of the annual business registration for you to know. Now, credit cards, checks, including certified checks and money orders, are now accepted to pay your annual registration for the state of Georgia. Include the 3 or 4-digit security code when paying with a credit card, and the official website has directions on how to complete the procedure. And I will notate this in the caption. Now, let's talk about the Georgia business license requirement. Now, it's important to note that Georgia does not need a state level business license, but all Georgia LLCs are required to get a local business or operating license. Contact the local government agencies in your city or county for further information on this requirement. That is important. Now, you may inquire extra licenses or permissions if the actions of your company are governed by state, federal, or county legislation. Now, businesses such as nightclubs, daycare facilities, plumbers, home inspectors, gun dealers, and licensed professionals such as architects and attorneys may need extra licenses. Okay. and that complete the actual presentation. So it was an honor for me to talk to you on how to structure your LLC specifically for the state of Georgia. If you have any more questions or anything else that you want me to do a presentation on, all you simply have to do is just comment in the comment sections and let me know. But until next time, y'all take care and always stay blessed.
Hey, experience can't be bought. This the energy you want. Yeah, this affirmative talk. Hey, destined for greatness, that's for certain. Time to build your life with purpose. Build your self-esteem and courage. Right now, it's a lifestyle, that's for sure. Good vibes and meditation from a real life coach. Let them know. Affirmations help to make a better you. Got you feeling incredible. Affirmative talk, come on through, let's go.